Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee's first meeting. Congratulations and welcome to all of our new members. Before we move to the first order of business, I just want to invite everyone to quickly introduce themselves, and we'll start with Sarah.
Hi, it's nice to meet everyone. So I'm Sarah, the Accessibility Coordinator for the County of Elgin. I'm also the Accessibility Coordinator for the County of Middlesex. I'm basically the one that tries to bring everything together and get all the information that we need to bring to the meetings. So yeah, I'll be running through, the terms of reference and other information items today during the meeting. And if anyone ever has any questions or comments or concerns regarding accessibility, definitely reach out to me at any time because I'm always happy to help. So yeah, nice to meet you all. Thanks.
Hi, Todd Noble, Deputy Mayor of Central Elgin and Councillor for Elgin County. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Bachman. I'm Councillor Ward 5, Belmont area for Central Elgin.
Jen Salverda, and I am a resident of Central Elgin.
Tom Marks, resident of Central Elgin, live just north of the city of St. Thomas.
Thanks so much, everyone. And I'm Delaney Leach, Deputy Clerk for the Municipality of Central Elgin. Looking forward to supporting the committee and working with all the members. I'm now seeking direction from the committee regarding the procedure it wishes to use to select a chair. This will require a mover, seconder, and a vote to demonstrate that a majority is in agreement. I understand it's customary for nominations to be accepted from the floor, and once the nominee confirms a willingness to stand and receives a seconder, then everyone would vote by show of hands. If a majority is not achieved through the first motion, then the process repeats until a candidate achieves a majority. Do we have any movers for the position of chair?
Is anybody interested in volunteering for the position of chair?
I was going to volunteer Tom, but Tom, with the experience he's had on this committee in the past, would be my recommendation.
Mr. Marks, do you wish to stand?
I will, and thank you for that.
Is there a seconder for the nomination?
I'll second that.
All in favor? That's carried. Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Now, should I move then? Well, all right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. So we're on to approval of the agenda. I will look for, I assume everyone's read the agenda. I'll look for a mover to approve and seconder, please. Moved by, are we fine with first names? Certainly I am. Is that all right? First names, moved by Dave, second by Jen, okay. Any discussion? If not, I'll call the vote. I guess I call the vote. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Adoptions of our minutes, and that's going back to September the 3rd, 2022. I guess I was probably the only one at that meeting, Sarah and I. But again, I assume everyone has read them, and I will look for a mover unless there's any discussion, mover and seconder to adopt them. Moved by Todd, second by Dave. Do we have any discussion on it? I will call the vote. All in favor? Against? That carries. Thank you. A reminder of disclosure of pecuniary interest, general nature thereof. I will note there are none. Item 6, delegations, and I'll note that we have none. We'll move on to item 7, reports, briefings. Accessibility coordinator. Jack, presentation. I'll turn it over to Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm just going to share my screen here. There we go. All right. So, nope, sorry. I apologize. It's not the first slide. There we go. Okay, so I have a presentation today. Basically, because this is the first meeting, I'll be running through some of the terms of reference regarding the advisory committee. So this is just a quick agenda for anyone interested in knowing what we'll be going through. So about the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee. So if a municipality has 10,000 or more residents, they have to create a local accessibility advisory committee. So Central Elgin and the County of Elgin both have over 10,000 residents. That's why we've decided to create a joint committee. You can call for members and choose them in any way that works with your community. The only requirement is that most of the committee members have to be people with disabilities. So of course, we do try to accomplish this as best as we can, understanding that we can only work within the realms of those who decide to apply for the committee. There is a guide that I have provided in the presentation for anyone interested in more information. I definitely recommend checking that out. It's a very comprehensive guide. So members and the accessibility coordinator. So as mentioned, the committee is formed between the County of Elgin and municipality of Central Elgin. So many municipalities have an accessibility coordinator who promotes and coordinates accessibility throughout the municipality, as well as assists with the advisory committee. So I usually, I am the one that takes that on, and I normally act as the liaison between the committee members and municipal staff, as well as elected officials. So generally, I'll guide committee members through municipal processes, provide advice, and channel committee members' questions to appropriate municipal staff. So terms of reference. So we do have terms of reference for our committee. I won't necessarily read out all of this. I assume people have hopefully had a chance to look it over, but we do have a preamble that kind of talks a little bit about what the terms of reference focuses on. And it is required, of course, under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. The definitions are included in the terms of reference. So please do refer to that if you want some information on that. Legislative duties. So the main things that we focus on are things like advising council on the preparation, implementation, and effectiveness of the multi-year accessibility plan. We advise participating municipalities on accessibility of buildings, structures, premises that the municipalities lease, purchase, construct, or significantly renovate. We advise on the Section 41 of the Planning Act. We advise on the requirements and implementation of the accessibility standards. And we also perform all other functions specified in the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. So consultation requirements. This is the part that is the most critical to the advisory committee, and by law, municipalities do have to consult on the following consultation requirements. So as mentioned, the multi-year accessibility plan, developing the design criteria in the construction, renovation, or placement of bus stops and shelters, when determining the proportion of on-demand accessible taxi cabs, on the location and design of accessible on-street parking spaces, before building new or making major changes to existing recreational trails, on the needs of caregivers and children and people with disabilities with respects to outdoor play spaces, and as well on the design of rest areas along exterior paths of travel. So the composition, again, as mentioned, we try to have a majority of members be people with disabilities. It is a 4-year term, and generally no member shall serve more than 2 consecutive terms unless no other candidates come forward. And the JAC chair is elected in the first meeting, as we've done today. Staff support, so county administrative services, the accessibility coordinator, so myself, and a representative from each participating municipality, so that would include Delaney, provides support to the committee. Accommodations, if anyone is ever unable to attend meetings, they may request accommodations. Accommodations will be decided upon by the chairperson, the Central Elgin deputy clerk, and the accessibility coordinator. Accommodation plans are good for 3 months. Unless the disability is permanent, then the plan will remain in place for the duration of the term. Meetings will be held in a hybrid format, so you can attend both in person or through Zoom. And we do try to meet roughly 4 times a year, but it largely depends on whether or not we have information or consultation requirements to fulfill. Quorum shall consist of the majority of voting members. As mentioned, you can attend electronically, and your vote will be counted during quorum. Absences, if you are absent for more than 3 consecutive meetings without notice or justifiable reason, membership will be reviewed and a recommendation will be made to council regarding membership. So if you have to miss any meetings for any reason, please do communicate that with me. Members must submit agenda items at least 2 weeks in advance. There are some exceptions to this. Sometimes we have to bring things to the meeting at very last minute. So again, just make sure that you're communicating with me if there's anything you'd like me to add to the agenda item. So for consultation requirements, there's a little bit more information on this here. So it has to do with the province's accessibility standards, preparing the municipality's accessibility compliance reports, and all other matters where the committee's advice would be helpful. We touched on the last part a little bit already, but just so everyone knows, we are able to request to review site plans. Site plans may include things like buildings, driveways, entrances, curbs or ramping, parking areas, sidewalks, landscaping, fences, exterior lighting, and municipal services. We can, the county and the central municipality of Central Elgin can engage our committee at any time for all other circumstances where it appears appropriate to seek advice on how to remove barriers for people with disabilities. So the next thing to be aware of is training. So per the legislation, we are required for any volunteers to do some training on accessibility. And I have identified 2 online free training options that members can complete to fulfill this requirement. So that would be the Working Together, the Code, and the AODA, and Access Forward Customer Service Standard module. I don't think they'll take more than like maybe 40 minutes of your time. So I will send those out after. Please do complete these and then just notify me that you have completed them. Okay, so this goes into general accessibility information, just some things to be aware of. We do have a joint multi-year accessibility plan. So for the first time, we decided in 2021 to do a plan that includes all of our municipalities. So the plan is made up of Elgin County and 7 local municipal partners. And it includes information on some of the following items that you'll see listed on the side here. Most notably, we do define the JAAC role and the accessibility coordinator roles so that it's clear to the public, the functions of both my role and the committee's role. We also have a lot of information provided by each local municipality on the progress that they've made, the goals and the timelines for accessibility initiatives between 2021 and 2026. So again, I will send out this after the meeting, and for anybody who's interested in reading it over and familiarizing yourself with the content, I highly recommend that. It's very relevant to the work that we do. We also have a county accessibility policy. So this is basically our overarching framework that guides the review and development of Elgin County goods, services, programs, and facilities in an inclusive manner that considers the AOGA and the needs of people with disabilities. It details how we meet the requirements of the Integrated Accessibility Standards Regulation. Accessibility compliance reports, these are filled out on a biannual basis, and this is done to basically demonstrate that we are compliant with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. Due to having to report non-compliance for web accessibility back in 2021, we were given notice that we had to fill our compliance report out early in 2023 and to demonstrate that we have since met that requirement. So we did complete ours in February of 2023. However, all the other local municipalities do not have to complete theirs until December 31st of 2023, for which I will be assisting with. Okay, so current and upcoming accessibility projects. So now that we've sort of gone through the terms of reference, I mentioned consultation is one of the biggest pieces of what we do here. So there is a project that the County of Elgin is working on. And it's more so for information so that everyone is aware. So this is not necessarily something that falls under the legislative requirements for consultation, but if anyone has any input, please do let me know. So what County of Elgin has decided to do, they're going to be doing a renovation on Sunset Drives, and at the intersection of Sparta Line and Sunset Drive, they are adding in tactile plates, which is basically what is commonly used for people who are blind, low vision, to notify them that that is the end of the curb and that they're entering into the road. This is a designated cycling lane, so it's not actually an official walkway for people, but people do use it for that reason. So that's why they've decided to add the tactile plates. They've also put the curb cuts as well to make the intersection more accessible for people. So this is not technically a requirement, but this is just something they're doing to try to make sure that we're being as accessible as possible. If anybody has any comments or questions on that, please do let me know. And if not, I can move forward to the next slide.
I'll give you just a take a breath there. We'll note that we've been joined by George. George, can you hear us?
Yes,
Hey, welcome. Just you're a couple minutes late. You missed the exciting news. I'm the new chairman. I'm Tom.
hi, Tom.
I'm the chairman, but just want to welcome you and let everyone know that you're here with us. So, Sarah,
Thank-
continue on.
Yes, thank you for joining us, George. It's much appreciated. So if no one has any comments, I'll move on to the next slide now. Okay, awesome. So current and upcoming accessibility projects. So some of the stuff that is being worked on currently includes a list of accessibility and DEI training that's available online. It's going to be included in a DEI guide. So the County of Elgin is currently creating a joint diversity, equity, and inclusion plan with all the other municipalities. So DEI training and accessibility training is going to be rolled out alongside of this. Several local municipal partners have reached out about getting accessible document training. So to ensure that we're following the 𝗖𝗄𝗄𝗃 2.0 level A and AA requirements per the integrated accessibility standards legislation, one of the things that we're trying to work on is making sure that our documents that are being posted online are fully accessible. So that's what the training focuses on. It is also being implemented for county staff. And all local municipal partners have indicated their interest in partaking in the diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. So the reason I'm mentioning the plan is because accessibility does fall under that. So it will sort of be tied in. But keeping in mind, we do still have our separate joint multi-year accessibility plan. So yeah, that is the kind of the bigger items that are being worked on right now. Some of the local municipalities wanted to send some updates just to keep everybody in the loop on what they're doing since they're not officially part of the advisory committee. So in the municipality of West Elgin, they have designed a new accessible public washroom. I believe this is at their town hall. So here's some pictures you can see here of the washroom. You can see they have the automated door operators and they have the grab bars. They've also included a fully accessible front desk. So you can see that there's a section of the desk that is lower than other. This is to accommodate people who use mobility devices such as wheelchairs. And then the municipality of Dutton Dunwich has completed some of the following upgrades to town hall, including the completion of an accessible ramp. They're adding a door with a main door with an automatic switch operator, accessible parking space, painting the rises and treads yellow, and repainting the brickwork. They've also launched a new fully accessible website, which you can access through the link that's in the PowerPoint. So here's some pictures of the changes they're making. You'll note that the door is not completely finished yet, but they will be updating all of this. This is just to demonstrate the ramp that they have added. So that's fantastic. So the last part of this was just to touch on my contact information. I know we still have more items to get through, but I just wanted to make sure that I provided my contact information. We can return back to this after we're done the whole meeting, just to kind of talk a little bit about the next meeting that we're going to have. And I will also talk a little bit further about the city of St. Thomas. Yeah, I think it makes more sense to wait until the end of the meeting to address that. So we'll come back to the slide at the very end of the meeting. I did want to bring up, though, there was something that was brought to my attention earlier by Mr. Chair and Delaney with respects to Central Elgin. So a member of the community had reached out indicating that there was some issues with respect to accessing closed captions during the meeting. So one of the things, one of the reasons why it's important that we have closed captions during meetings is, for people with disabilities, and especially people who have hearing disabilities, to be able to access the captions on the screen and to ensure that they're able to fully participate and access the same information as everyone else. So I am suggesting that the committee put forward a recommendation to the municipality of Central Elgin. I am not always the best at the wording on this, so we can tweak the wording as needed. Delaney can probably help with that, but I would recommend that the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee requests that the municipality of Central Elgin turn on closed captions when recording council meetings that are being posted online through YouTube. And the captions should be on while the meeting is live. So I'll turn that over to Mr. Chair too.
It was brought to my attention, my head hurt. Sorry about that. It was brought to my attention by a resident that we don't do this. So I said it's timely I bring it up to today. I've talked to Delaney, and she's on top of it so it's something we can do. I think it's probably at this level, we would make a recommendation to the municipality, Central Elgin, and the county, and then they would act on it. They need direction. So I think Delaney can probably explain a whole lot better than I can. It's just an oversight and very low, no cost. So just let's do it. Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just confirming that Central Elgin does have the capability of implementing this change.
I apologize. Yes, it would be for both the municipality and the county of Elgin. I think it's good that we do that for both any meetings that are being provided to the public on both platforms. As you can see, just as an example, we have the captions on this meeting. So for anyone watching live on Facebook, in this case, they'd be able to access the captions. So I'll turn it back over to you to make a recommendation.
No question. I would actually move that we proceed with captioning for the Central Elgin meetings and County of Elgin recommendation.
Delaney, you have resolution drafted?
I can share the one that I've written.
Go ahead, whoever's.
Yeah. So the resolution is that the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee requests that the municipality of Central Elgin and County of Elgin turn on closed captions when recording council meetings that are posted online for the public to view.
The only suggestion that I might have, just to make sure that we've covered all types of public meetings. That's something for the committee's consideration as well. The same could easily be done for committee meetings or public hearings or anything of that nature. And so it may be best to broaden that description so that it's not just confined to council.
Question, Todd?
I just have one question. Sometimes with the closed captioning, it not misspells, but maybe puts a wrong word in, and that could create a problem. So I don't know if we need like a disclaimer that maybe the wording isn't 100%, or it would be a lot of work for staff to go over the wording on that in case there's miscommunication.
Actually, I'm got some familiarity with the software that contains with the captioning and how it captures words. I'm assuming that most people that are needing this type of service are familiar with the fact that, some words are going to be mispronounced and some intentions may not be coming across. I'm quite accepting of the fact that they are familiar with that technology and with the limitations of that technology.
Go ahead, Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just confirming that the mover and seconder are accepting of the recommended change from council meeting to public meeting for the resolution.
Actually, I don't know if you want to put any and all business arising from Central Elgin. Any public. Like, I just want it all encompassing because like you said, it's just for IT, it's just checking a box and away it goes.
That's probably a good point, even if Facebook post like a video or just some advertising of an event coming, why not have it on it all? Looks like we got agreement.
Do we have the final wording confirmed? I just want to make sure we're good on that resolution there.
So yes, I'm just confirming that that council was replaced with any public meetings posted online for the public to view.
All right. If nothing else, I'll call the vote. All in favor, and that is carried. I think that's a good move. Sarah presented a lot of information. Take that opportunity. I will ask if anyone, Sarah's give us a lot of information. I'll get used to it, maybe. So if anyone has a question for her, it's probably a good chance now. I take it you did a good job explaining it. Thank you. All right. What's next? Director, multi-use path. Well, that next. Mr. Brooks, welcome. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm here today to introduce the East Road multi-use pathway to the Joint Accessibility Committee. So the municipality of Central Elgin is proposing a 3-meter wide multi-use pathway to be constructed on the west side of East Road in Port Stanley between Compass Trail and the Water Tower property. The 3-meter wide multi-use trail will be fully accessible with tactile plates and will be a separated pathway off of the roadway to provide pedestrians and multi-use users more sense of security while using the pathway. So happy to answer any questions that the committee has.
Thank you for that, Jeff. Dave, go ahead.
Jeff, is this part of a multi-event strategy that we have moving forward? Because I love the idea. It's just that are all neighborhoods kind of moving in this direction?
At this point, no. This was proposed as we weren't able to construct a sidewalk on East Road. However, this could be, the first in many projects of its type to start to connect communities and neighborhoods together and provide that separated pathway off of the street for the users.
Just follow up, Jeff. Is this part of a developer's plan moving forward, or is this? I'm just wondering whose responsibility something like this might fall under.
The municipality, this is being undertaken by the municipality, as sidewalks are the responsibility of the municipality. This is a county road. However, the municipality is funding it. It's being funded through development charges.
Yeah, I was going to point out that there is a wrinkle, the fact that it is a county road, but it does sound like it will be welcome news, I would suspect. Further comments? Is that just for information, or do we have to?
So if no one has any recommendations or any input to give on the multi-use path extents, then yes, it would be received for information.
All right, please, that's what I was going to ask you.
Mr. Chair, the motion reads that the East Road multi-use path be approved as presented.
Mover and seconder, please.
I'll
Tom?
move.
Thank you, George. Todd and George? Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you.
May I ask a question? It
You
does not
certainly may.
pertain, it does not pertain to this particular article, but it's related. Has the township, all of the townships gotten together to see if the service organizations would join communities together with a path? In Port Stanley, for example, you have a number of service clubs. Though the municipality is responsible to put these paths in when they have the funds. Has anybody from this organization, if this is one of the possible guidelines for this group of people to approach the service industries to participate in raising funds to get these paths built, to join the communities?
Mr. Brooks, do you want to tackle that one? I don't think we've ever. I would assume we'd always be open to taking donations. I don't know if we've ever actually asked, but go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
To my knowledge, there hasn't been any recent conversations between municipalities for a larger pathway connecting the different municipalities. There may have been some previous conversations during the preparation of the active transportation plan going back to, I'm going to say around 2014 to 2013, but nothing as of lately. What I can suggest to the committee is another project that the municipality of Central Elgin will be undertaking in 2023 is a preparation of a trails and recreation master plan, which will look at parks and facilities in the municipality, as well as try to amalgamate the trails master plan within the recreation master plan. So there's opportunities through that process to, look at more opportunities for connections.
Thank you, Jeff. To your point, George, I think most of us realize the generosity of service clubs and the benefit they've given to so many communities over the years. So your point is taken, and when there's a need, they generally step forward.
Yes and no. Mr. Brooks. It is Mr. Brooks.
It is.
Okay, hi. Is that already documented into the master plan about joining these paths from one end to the other end? Or is that just your conversations today as part of the master plan that it will be discussed?
Through you, Mr. Chair, excuse me. The master plan has yet to get underway. Staff will, in the next few weeks, start to prepare proposals to hire a consultant to prepare that plan. We would expect that plan will start sometime later this summer and will probably take several months to complete. However, this plan is specific to Central Elgin only. However, through consultations with the public, we will reach out to neighboring municipalities to see if there are any opportunities to start to establish links between the different municipalities.
Would you be, when you say public, are you just going to have the public in generality, or would you be specific to organizations?
It wouldn't be specific to organizations. It would be the general public that the municipality would typically be consulting with. That being said, any service club that is interested is welcome to participate.
Could it not be reversed and have the municipalities contact service clubs when they're contacting the public? The municipalities would all have access to all of that pertinent information to the service clubs.
staff would, can take note of that, and we can certainly make efforts to reach out to the service clubs.
Thank you.
We're blessed with 2 members of Central Algon Council here today, so I'm assuming they're listening as well. Point taken.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're very welcome. Item 7.3, accessibility coordinator, snow removal in parking lots. Who's taking that? Is that,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm gonna try to share my screen, but my it seems to be acting up. So just give me a moment, please. Okay. Sorry, so actually, no, I won't share my screen because this is attached to the agenda, so hopefully people are familiar with the content. So the report basically that is attached to the agenda does discuss a concern that was raised by a community member. Basically, one of the issues in Central Algon, specifically in Port Stanley in this example, is contractors that are hired for snow removal sometimes choose to just deposit the snow in accessible parking spaces. This obviously reduces the overall number of spaces available to people with disabilities. So as noted in the report, there is an example of this in the picture included. So the discussion around this is that there's currently no legislation that specifically focuses on the removal of snow and accessibility. So as a result, contractors typically will put the snow in accessible parking spaces. That being said, the integrated accessibility standards legislation does require a certain number of accessible parking spaces based on the size of the parking lot. So to ensure that this requirement is met for all parking lots, it is prominent that each accessibility parking space remains free of snow or other debris so people with disabilities can access the spaces. So to resolve this issue, it is recommended that contractors choose non-accessible parking spaces to deposit the snow or to choose an alternative location that does not restrict access to the parking spaces for users. So this is specifically for Central Algon. We can also expand the recommendation to include the County of Algon on the whole, but I believe snow removal is typically done at the local municipal level. So anyways, the conclusion part talks a little bit about how it's important to refrain from creating barriers that prevent people with disabilities from accessing parking spaces. And there's also other things that can be considered when removing snow in the wintertime. So this includes things like ensuring access to automatic accessible crosswalk buttons, ensuring automatic door operator switches are accessible, ensuring snow is removed from tactile walking surface indicators, and ensuring all paths of travel remain barrier-free and cleared of snow. The only reason that I've mentioned these additional examples for consideration is because sometimes when snow is cleared, it's not cleared close enough to the accessible buttons, for example, at crosswalks or for door operators. So people in wheelchairs are unable to access the buttons, which sort of defeats the point of having them. So I can move that back to Mr. Chair for the recommendation. Unless anyone has any questions, I'm always happy to take those.
Dave, go ahead.
Pardon me, Jeff, is there some type of training that our staff is going to need to do to make sure that they're aware of such issues as, you know, access to that button to cross streets and just making sure? So I'm assuming that if they're aware, it will be done, but that they're busy with snow and just it doesn't cross their mind.
Staff have been aware over the past year or so. We've actually worked with Sarah, who's passed along some concerns about some of the buttons being obstructed by snow. So staff have been made aware of the concerns and have been working over the past, I'm going to say 2 years anyways, to ensure that some of these issues are addressed.
Comment, Todd?
Pretty much just what Dave said.
I have a vivid memory. The crosswalk just down the road, every snowfall I used to get a call from a gentleman who was very, very determined. And the education part, like, you know, last year we didn't get much snow and different people are doing the snow plowing, but we should be going up and thanking him because I think that's how we got, you know, it was an oversight. We weren't doing it on purpose, but the education part did get through. He was very determined, but It just seems like we're legislating common sense, but maybe that's what we gotta do, but. Jen, go ahead.
Thanks. Is it possible to include in this something about along the lines of municipal walking paths as well? And I'm only asking this because often, even within our own community, we're unable to access the walking paths because the curb cutouts aren't cleared. And when the curb cutouts aren't cleared, we can't access what is designed to travel in a shorter distance, especially for those with mobility concerns, that long distances can be more challenging. So it may be a shortcut, but the shortcut is therefore removed because the accessibility is removed.
I have no objection to adding, and I think as we've already discussed, it's a bit of a learning education thing. We're all human, and that one person lets us down, so then we got to remind them and start all over. You'll never get it perfect, but go ahead, Jeff.
And I appreciate what Jen's comment there. In addition to that, it is a level of service issue as well. Sidewalks aren't necessarily cleared. You know, it can take up to 2 days sometimes for the sidewalks to be cleared because we have our staff out clearing roads. So it may take some time to get to these areas to ensure that they're cleared, but you know, that will certainly be passed along to our winter control staff.
Go ahead, Jen, and then I see George has got his hand up next. Go ahead.
And I completely understand that, but I also think we have to look at it from an equity lens, that those who don't have modes of transportation like cars or trucks or vans, therefore it removes an opportunity for them, for example, if they even need to get to the grocery store. So as much as we're putting precedent over roads being cleared, it's an equity to those who do not have the ability to drive. So I think that should be something, and you're saying it can take up to 2 days. Sometimes 2 days could be too long. So perhaps that's something we need to look at. And if it's potential that we put a limit on how long it might take for sidewalks to be cleared, because also once sidewalks are cleared and often the plows have gone through, they've then plowed in the sidewalk. So then you still have a giant chunk of snow that can be an incredibly large barrier for wheelchair users to proceed through.
Thank you, Jen. George, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. A question in reference to a correlation between an emergency evacuation area compared to a parking lot. When a person is using any type of mobility device to get A to B, to them, that's their evacuation to get out. Is there a possibility that this council could meet with the people that actually do the parking lot and get a better understanding of the diverse situations that they're placed in, that they cannot get these areas cleaned quick enough, or have the understanding to slow it down a little bit so that that area is cleaned out? Because they might have a different set of directions from management that get in and get out in 30 minutes. But if it's considered in sense of these parking lots are evacuation sites for people with disabilities, and it's important to maybe look at it from a different perspective. I hope that makes sense.
Here to comment, Jeff?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not aware of any emergency evacuation sites that the municipality is responsible for clearing snow on parking lots. But you know, if there's some more information that can be passed along, we'd certainly be willing to consider it.
I wouldn't say that you have actually emergency evacuation site parking lots. If it would be considered, if you had one, they would be treated differently than a typical parking lot. Because in an emergency situation parking lot, you would have certain guidelines, for example, not ensuring that there be no snow in front of any of those buttons or the tactile plates. But if it's just a typical parking lot, then it's a typical thought process that goes with it. Maybe my explanation was a poor trying to create an equal flat footing for pavement. But coming from people that utilizes these parking lots, they don't look at these parking lots as a typical piece of asphalt. As a snowplow operator doing their job always thoroughly and effectively, the parts that they're missing are the ones that are very crucial to the ones that absolutely need it.
Jeff, go ahead.
I guess I'm not aware of any issues that we're having in any of the parking lots that we're clearing. We clear the arena parking lots through contractors, the fire hall, we do the pharmacy down in Port Stanley, the visitor center. You know, if we have specific examples that can be provided, we're happy to address any, you know, specific examples, but generally it's my understanding that the municipality does a pretty good job of clearing the snow off of the parking lots, as well as clearing any walkways and you know, buttons or any other accessible features that are included in that parking lot.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. To Jen's comment earlier, the problem we had down here, the sidewalks were being cleared. They just sort of stopped a little bit short. There's a pile of snow and the wheelchair or the motorized vehicle couldn't get up to the button. And to my knowledge, I think the education's gone through, we're aware of it. And so it's probably a win for us. And you know, I fully believe people don't do these things on purpose. Once it's pointed out and we learn, hopefully that same person keeps doing that job over and over. But if someone else comes in, we may have to go back and re-educate, but I think we have the staff to do that. So, which is valuable from this. That's why we have this committee. Jen, go ahead.
And I'm really new to this, but is there the potential for some type of reporting system that could be done so that people have the opportunity? Because the reality is you may not be aware of every sidewalk within the cities and the municipalities, that we could have somebody who's a reporting place online where somebody could go and report that a sidewalk isn't cleared or that they are unable to access this curb cutout, which would then allow better education for those who are providing the clearing of the snow. So that what we just been talking about this being an education piece. So this might just be one way to help.
Jeff?
So the municipality of Central Elgin has a report of concern page on its webpage where residents can write in and, you know, let staff know where concerns do exist. Again, this specific topic, it is a level of service. You know, it has level of service implications as well as, you know, we're only staffed to provide a certain level of service. We're not necessarily currently staffed to have, you know, every curb cutout shoveled out within 12 hours of the snowfall. And as far as guidelines and education, the municipal staff are well versed on the minimum maintenance standards, which dictates how and when snow removal is done on both sidewalks and roads. Again, there may be certain instances where we have a new operator working in one community that typically works in, say, Port Stanley. They may be sent to Belmont and they're not used to working up in Belmont, for example, and they might miss one of those you know, key pieces that needs to be done. So again, if there are any concerns, I'd always recommend that you know, residents either call in or go to the report of concern site or page on the municipal website.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Any other comments?
Yes, I do. You mentioned that, and I please don't think I'm disrespecting the workers and what they're trying to achieve. I certainly love a nice parking lot, though I do drive a four-wheel drive. But I am speaking about the people that have mobility issues. And if it's not budgeted for spending extra time in these parking lots, or the drivers having a booklet in their vehicle, whether they go to Belmont or any parking lot, that in this particular parking lot, please pay special attention to this corner of the parking lot. Because if somebody in the mobility issue has the mobility issue that they can't get out, And then they have to write a report. I have a feeling that this conversation got started based on that they're going to be there for 2 or 3 days. And I'm trying to figure out how can we get it done so that there is no reason to write a report and wait 2 or 3 days. But you had mentioned budget, and the monetary fees are allocated for so much time and equipment to go to a destination B. Can that be readdressed so that these very specific items that are very crucial to the purpose of our existence in this room?
Comment, Todd, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. George, I think part of the challenge is we're always going to have new areas that create a challenge for different areas of our community. And I know a bunch of us on council, our phone numbers are posted. And if it's a challenge to get a hold of or find a way to get to Central Elgin, our numbers are there. If somebody gives us a call, we can make the necessary arrangements to pick up where there might be a need. I'm hoping that solves some of the challenges.
It's all possible, but I would like to take this off the table and learn a little bit more about it. If that's permissible.
Sorry, I don't understand what you meant, George.
Well, we have phone numbers that people can call. And for the ones that don't know me, I've got 45 years experience in working with people with disabilities in parking lots. And now I'm having a meeting with the people that have something to do with having these done. I'm sure if I went to my wife and said to her, well, here, just phone this number, they'll try to help you out. That's been in existence for 30 years. It's not going to make her any happier today. So what I'm saying, I'd like to see possibly the documentation and the processes that are implied and enforced for this possible reason that these become obstacles for people with disabilities. I'm just trying to reduce the obstacles for the people with disabilities. Happy
Go ahead.
be happy to sit down and learn a bit more as opposed to taking up everybody's time.
Through you, Mr. Chair. George, if you could give us specific areas that need that extra attention, we can take that to staff before we get to next winter.
That would be great. Do you have the stats from the year 21, 22, 22, 23? That have had complaints on phone calls that I could review?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I could reach out to staff to get a report on that, George, if you
I'd be
would
happy
like
to
that.
go back to, I'd be happy to go back 10 years. And see if that can correlate enough information to warrant a further discussion. Be happy to do that.
All right, thank you. Jeff, you can
Thank
probably
you.
give your staff a heads up.
There may be some concerns with, we might be able to dig up some stats, but providing all the work orders probably may contain some personal information that we're not allowed to distribute. Again, I think, when we're talking about these parking lots, I'm not aware of any issues, nor am I aware of any, regular concerns that we're getting with these parking lots. I think in general, these parking lots are being, cleaned off. Typically, they're cleaned off first thing in the morning. We have a third-party contractor who does the parking lots. Again, I think, with so few concerns that have made it to my desk, I would suggest that the report a concern thing is the best way forward rather than, spending, hours of staff time trying to dig up, work orders when there really isn't a concern that we're aware of.
Comment, Sarah?
Yeah, I just want to bring up, I know the main focus today, of course, is on specifically the contractors that are clearing the snow out of the parking lots, making sure that we try to push them to put the snow in places that doesn't interfere with accessible parking spaces. So again, as Mr. Brooks has said, if there are any specific concerns that come up, then of course, it's always great to bring that to the attention of the advisory committee, because that is something that we can look into here at this level as well. But yeah, I think the main issue, because we do have a member that has reached out for this particular incident, is just to make a recommendation for now, focusing specifically on the removal of snow in parking lots and having that be deposited in non-accessible spaces. And then, of course, we can readdress any further concerns that come up closer to the next winter season. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Todd?
Thank you, Sarah. That would be more than satisfactory to me if we were to start that now, what you're saying, and then we'll just collect data as we go.
All right, thank you. Delaney, would you read the motion, then the resolution, then we'll get to mover and seconder, please?
Mr. Chair, the motion reads that the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee requests that the municipality of Central Elgin include a clause in the terms and conditions of snow clearing contracts that prohibits cleared snow from being deposited in accessible parking spaces.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the last item that I have, and I just want to remind myself to circle back briefly at the end of the meeting to the joint meeting that we may be having with St. Thomas. So for now, the accessibility status report, this is a legislative requirement that we need to complete on an annual basis. And essentially what it is it's a report that highlights ongoing accessibility initiatives and progress that we have made specifically regarding the multi-year accessibility plan. So the report is attached to the agenda, and the information in it will demonstrate what each local municipality has done, because it is a joint report. And the report is required to go to county council for approval. Upon approval, it will then go to the local municipalities for approval. It must be posted on the website for the public to view. So hopefully everyone has had a chance to look at the report. And it has some very interesting initiatives and some fantastic progress that has been made in the last year in 2022 regarding accessibility. If anyone does have any questions, I'm always happy to take those. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Questions for Sarah? Not, Delaney, do you want to read the report? I'm going to move her and seconder.
Mr. Chair, the motion reads that the report titled Joint Annual Accessibility Status Report 2022 dated April 25th, 2023, be approved by the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, and that the report be forwarded to Elgin County Council for approval.
Mover and seconder, please. Moved by George, second by Jen. Further discussion? I will call the vote. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. I think we're at other business. Do we have? You have some. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So as I mentioned, we usually try to meet roughly 4 times a year. Because we are starting the meeting a little bit later this year, I anticipate we'll probably have 2 more meetings depending on consultation requirements that we have. One thing I do want to bring up to everybody now so that everyone is aware. So last year we began working with the Municipal Accessibility Advisory Committee for the City of St. Thomas to host a accessibility event, and we're hoping to do that again this year. The event takes place in September, I believe, but we're looking to set up a joint meeting to sort of get started on talking about that. And the joint meeting, we're thinking we might want to host during the National Accessibility Week, which is between May 28th and June 3rd. So if anyone has any objections to that at this time, or aware that they may not be around, just let me know. I will send out an email closer to the time to set up the actual meeting. But this is basically just going to be discussing the accessibility open house. Hopefully some of you had a chance to attend that last year, and basically talk about, what steps we need to take and any other collaboration we might want to do between our committee and the St. Thomas committee, since we are in sort of the same area. So it would be great to have that connection with them. So yeah, if anyone has any input at this time, let me know. But if not, I will reach out closer to when we're actually going to set up the joint meeting. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other business? I just have one quick question. This is a brand new board here, but we had a couple of our last retiring members who really contributed a lot. Did they get recognized or letter of thanks? Because our past chairman and members who retired from the committee, did we officially thank them? Because I think it'd be a great idea to send them a letter of recognition and thanks, because we had some good members.
That's a great question. I'll have to follow up with the admin department. I know there was a conversation about it. And I will have to check in with them about whether or not we actually sent out a letter, but that is a common practice that we do. So if we haven't, I'll make sure that gets done because they made great contributions to the committee. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up.
They did. All right. Correspondence? Don't see any. No correspondence? And no need to go into closed session. Date of our next meeting. You want to pick that now?
We can, yeah, we certainly can. We could tentatively book a date, but we will probably decide whether or not it has to be changed closer to the time in case people schedule change. So usually we try to do it quarterly, so we would be looking at July.
Would you
I
like
mean,
to
we-
try with our calendars, look for a date now, or do you want to let it go and call the chair kind of thing? What's your will and pleasure? It's fine with me. Is that all right, Sarah? Just let it go, and as we get closer, send out a doodle poll.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll reach out closer to that. I'll try to give at least a month's notice so that there's time to actually pick a date and make sure everyone's calendar is free. So yeah, and just a reminder, we will probably try to keep a similar meeting time. It may differ in the summer, I'm not sure, but during the rest of the year, it will likely be around this time every time. So yeah, okay, that's good. I'll reach out then. Thank you.
All right, if there's anything further from the members? If not, we're at that point. I always smile at adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Dave. Second by Todd. All right, all in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Stay safe.